I'm really, really honored and very lucky to be here to talk about a subject that I'm fanatic about. And I use the word fanatic because mentoring is how I'm able to speak to you today. So I believe in it and I'm very passionate about it. And I hope by the time I'm done speaking, you will also be passionate about it. Why is mentoring so important? Well, I'm not going to talk about stats that we talk about all the time. We already know that 16% of the seats around the board are reserved for women, but it's just 16%. When you look at CEOs in corporate America and around the world, it's even less in some instances. And the statistics are not much better when you look at senior managers. So it's not great. And you look at the other side of the equation. More women today are going to school than ever. And more women than men are getting postgraduate degrees. This is a fact. And somehow, that's not translating into the needle shifting at the senior leadership level. Why? There are a number of reasons, and we won't get into that here today. What I want to talk about is the one that we can influence. The road to the top is difficult. It's bumpy, it's full of landmines, potholes. And for senior women who have made it, I believe there's a responsibility for you to share your stories with the woman coming behind. So you can help them make that same journey that you have made as well. I was reading somewhere recently that 35% of women who have had mentorship early on in their career end up making a lot more money and they get promoted more quickly. Well, if that doesn't tell us why we should mentor, I don't know what else will. When I was coming up, I moved to Nigeria in 2004, and I was working, and I had a moment of madness. So I was a manager somewhere, and I saw an ad in the newspaper for a director role. And I said, I had a moment of madness. I said, oh, I can do that. Director? I want to be a director. So I applied and sent in my CV. Funny enough, I got called for an interview. So I was really excited. Went for the interview, came back, got a call for a second interview. Wow, we're getting somewhere. Got home, and a few days later, I was offered the job. So I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be a director. I'm on the road to success. Well, can I tell you that a week afterwards, I was supposed to start the job, and then I started getting very nervous. I'm not sure I can do that. I'm not sure I can be a director. What on earth possessed me to apply for a director job? So what did I do? I had a mentor called Eliza. I'd worked with her for many years, and outside of that working relationship, we had built a personal relationship as well. So I called her up and I said, Eliza, I didn't tell you about this, but I've applied for this job. It's a director role, and they've offered it to me, marketing director. But I'm thinking that actually this is not the right time. I probably need a bit more work experience. I need to do a lot more. I need to go to school. I had all these excuses. So what did Eliza say to me? She said, okay, Uche, let me ask you a couple of questions. So was it your CV you sent in for the application? I said, yeah, of course. Okay, second question. The first interview, did you go or did you send a representative? I went. Second interview, was it you? Yes, Eliza, it was me. She's like, okay. So it was your CV. You went on both interviews. Yes. Okay, so what you'll do, listen to this, Uche. What you'll do on Monday when you start work is be the person they hired. So I was like, what do you mean? What does that mean exactly? She said, be the person that they hired. And what she was trying to say to me was, actually, They picked your CV, they interviewed you amongst many others, and they chose you. So go there and do what they hired you to do. She was able to give me that advice, and obviously I listened because I'm here today. But she was able to give me that advice, one, because we had a relationship. Mentoring is not that. It's not about us telling you exactly what to do. It's a conversation about professional and personal development. The reason why she could tell me, go and be the person they hired, as she told me later, was that I've worked with you for so many years, and each time you're about to embark on a new journey, you have a massive freak out. This is you, Uche. You do it all the time. But after a couple of days of working, you settle down and you're brilliant. So go and do that. And the other reason why the mentoring relationship was so great, so she gave me perspective of my own personality, which I didn't know. I hadn't realized that, by the way. But the other thing was that she also had been promoted very early on in her career. So she had been on that journey, and she knew exactly what I was feeling, and she was able to guide me along the way. And actually, my first 90 days in that new role were really critical in terms of my relationship with her, because she could say to me, here's what your boss will be expecting from you. Here are the do's and here are the don'ts. And it was the mentoring that she gave me then that set me up for the successes I had on in the future. Mentoring is really, really important. At Vodafone, we have a mentoring program. We want to continue to build the female talent pool and pipeline. And we take that really seriously. We work with different universities, and we identify women very early on in their careers as potential talent that we can work with. But beyond that structured mentoring relationship at Vodafone, I mentor a lot of women around the country as well. And some of them just reach out to me on email, and that's fine, and I really encourage that. And sometimes people meet me just in forums such as this and ask me questions as well. I recently was talking to some young ladies at the University of Ghana, and they said to me, Uche, we want to be you. How can I be you? I want to be you. And I said, actually, how can I help you be you? The conversation is not about mentoring to be like me. It's about helping them fulfill their best path. And that's what mentoring is about. If we can find ways to help women reach the best of themselves, what we do is create a circle of success. I mentor you, you mentor someone else, and we continue to create a circle of success. This is important. And I use the word responsibility not lightly, but because I feel really passionately that it is our responsibility to do that. If we're going to shift the needle, if we're going to get more women into senior leadership positions, this is exactly what needs to happen. I also remember recently, I was in this current role. And it's very interesting for people to view you on the outside and say, oh, you know, she's arrived. She's the chief marketing officer, and so what problems could she possibly have? But this is not true. Even now, I still have a mentor. I have a number of mentors, actually not just one. When it's time to negotiate my salary, I speak to that one mentor who is really good at that to tell me how to do it, because I hate negotiating. And when it's time to talk about what my next steps should be from a career point of view, I have a woman who I can speak to about that. It is important not just to have one mentor, but to have a number of mentors who will help you with different things. This is key. I didn't realize that until I was quite far along my career. I'd heard this word mentoring, and I had this one mentor, Eliza. But I realized very quickly that I had other needs as a career woman that I needed to talk to people about, that I needed help with. And then I started to sort of open up my forum of mentors, and that has been really helpful to me. I think the last thing I want to mention is that the mentoring relationship is a two-way street. So I talked about the fact that as a mentor for other women, What we can provide is perspective. What we can help do is help them navigate. So you've been on the journey, you know where the potholes are, you can say, don't go down this way. You can give brutal feedback. Recently, I had to do that with a mentor of mine. He was looking to transition from one job into another, and the way he was going about it, to be very honest, was a bit ridiculous. And I had to tell him that. I said, you're being ridiculous. This is not the way to do it. You're going to burn bridges. It's, again, back to that word relationship, and the fact that mentoring is not just a one-off email, one-off phone call. If you're going to get the best out of people, we have to make sure we have this relationship. But it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. As we are giving you the advice, you have to be open to receiving that. And you must nurture your relationship, because as I mentioned, it's not a one-off. But most importantly, I think, and the one thing I'd want to say here is, for women and for female leaders, it's not just about us in the very senior roles. Even the young women in this room can be a mentor to somebody else. You've just finished university. Maybe you did chemistry, something I would never do in university. And maybe there's someone who is coming into university and she's wondering how you were able to do that. Well, actually, you could serve as a mentor to that person. Or maybe you've just gotten your first job with Vodafone, and somebody is in school looking at you and saying, how did they do that? And how can I also do that? Well, you can serve as a mentor to them as well. So for me, it's never too early to become a mentor. And if we can get that mentorship program in place, i.e., the senior leaders mentor the younger ones in business or entrepreneurs, and they also mentor the younger ones in school, we widen the circle of success I talked about. And that's a good thing. I want to finish off by quoting someone who is a mentor in my head. I've never met her. Her name is Michelle Obama. And I sometimes ask myself, what would Michelle do? Because she's a mentor in my head. And what she said at a forum recently was this: if we're going to move forward, we should not only focus on the next set of issues, we need to focus on the next set of leaders. And as women who have already been there, it is our responsibility to look back, grab, and pull up the next set of promising leaders over and over again. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you for listening to my passion. And let's widen the circle of success. Thank you.